Welcome everyone to Simpocalypse, a post-apocalyptic city builder with a very heavy emphasis on resource management. So our goal in this game is very simple. We want to rebuild civilization. So the end of the world, the end of times has already happened, as you can see in the background here on the main screen. Our goal is to crawl out of the holes we've been in for about the past year and slowly start to rebuild. So it's going to be a heavy emphasis on gathering resources and managing resources as we continue to rebuild civilization. Our purpose for today's video is just to get started, give you an idea of what this game is all about, so you can determine if this is something that you want to add to your wish list on the Steam platform. So we're going to be using the demo version, which means that there are a lot of features that are still being developed and are not in the game. You can only have in the demo version one save file. So I've had to delete the save file that I've been using as part of learning the game. So you don't see anything here under load a file. If we come under settings, we have some very basic settings. We'll be using full screen mode, and we will have some sounds, although there will be no music, simply for recording purposes. There are a lot of tooltips that you'll see pop up during the course of gameplay, and also some quality of life things that have been added to the game, such as how many of certain items that you're going to produce, or how many buildings you're going to produce, that kind of thing. So there are some things in the game to really help you out. But if we come over to the About Us tab, they have a Discord that you can join, and of course you can wishlist the game on Steam. But as far as a roadmap, here's already a list of things that they plan on adding to the game that are not already in there. But I can tell you, just from the short amount of time that I've had with the demo version of this game, there is a lot of playability in this game, and they're looking at adding even more replayability with more features in the future. So that takes care of our introduction. Now, let's hop right into the game. First thing we need to do is pick our starting settings. So we've got a couple of things to choose from. Number of citizens to start from, the more, the better, because there are going to be a lot of tasks that we're going to need to assign at the beginning of the game and as things continue to progress. So the more citizens you have, the faster you can get things done. We're going to go ahead and choose 10, which is the minimum. And then we need to choose where we're going to start. By default, it wants us to start in Africa because it gives us faster builders and we can get things progressing at the very beginning of the game in a much quicker rate. But several other options here, each with its own unique bonuses. We're going to go ahead and use Africa and get started. Our first look at the game map is a single tile. So there are several tiles in our starting area, but in order to both locate them and see what kind of resources they might have, we're going to need to do some exploring. So that's going to be step one. But before we get there, let's take a brief look around the screen and see what type of information we have available. So I've already paused the game, so time is not going to be moving forward, but in the top left-hand corner, you see our time as well as the frames per second in the top left-hand. Then we have our game time. So right now, by default, it's at 1x, and we do have the option to move this up to 2x. There are additional options for 3x and so on, but you need to unlock those through the research tree, which we'll be taking a look at momentarily. Then next we have our number of people. We've selected 10 people at the very beginning, and right now no one has a job as we're just getting started, so we'll need to keep a close eye on that as time goes on. We don't want any people sitting around idle. That's going to hurt our productivity, which is in the next couple of things we're going to look at. Our health and our productivity. These two things are major hurdles in the game. If you're not paying close attention to these two, your health could go down, citizens start to die, and that is certainly going to derail our efforts to rebuild civilization. Same thing with the productivity. If we have a lot of people sitting around idle with nothing to do, that's not going to help us grow either. Scrolling over to the right-hand side of the screen, we've got some quality of life settings that are not as important at the very beginning of the game since we have very few people. But as time goes on and we get into the hundreds and thousands of citizens, these will become much more important. We start out with a build amount. Again, at the beginning, we're only going to want to build buildings one at a time, but as time goes on, you're going to want to build several of these at any given time. Same thing with assignment amounts. These are how many citizens we want to assign to work at a certain building or location. Right now, again, we'll be doing these one at a time with options to increase that as time goes on. We also have a building queue, which right now is empty, but it's not going to stay that way for very long. Then we have two of the most basic resources, food and water. we're definitely going to want to make sure that we keep these in the positive territory. So you notice at the very bottom of the pop-up, there is an absolute per second. And we want to make sure this stays in the positive territory. Otherwise, we'll run out of food and water. That's going to start to affect our health and so on. Then we have our resources, research, and the map. So right now, it wants us to begin exploring. You're going to notice, as well as tooltips, you're going to see tutorial messages pop up in the bottom left, sort of guiding us in the way we need to go to get ourselves started and get our civilization up and running. So we need to explore our surroundings in order to find some resources. So let's get rid of that and click on Start Exploring. So this is our basic game map. We're going to spend a lot of time on this screen, and as we get farther along, there's going to be more windows that pop up that we'll need to manage. Right now, we need to select a certain number of explorers. And the way this works is very basic. The more citizens we send out exploring, the quicker they will explore and the more stuff they will find. So we only have 10 people right now. So let's go ahead and start out with, let's go ahead and unpause the game. We'll do 3 right now. That leaves 7 people idle. Now you get an idea of just how quickly we're going to begin to explore. There's the percentage that we have explored our beginning tile. So again, it's not a very quick process, but it is underway. So 3 explorers right now. Now we need to begin looking for resources. And right now we start with the basics, food and water. Here you notice our per second. And again, we need to make sure we keep this in the positive. Right now it is not. So let's go ahead and put a couple on each one of these. And as soon as I unpause the game, it should show those. Yeah, there you go. So our first mission is completed. So we've set up the basics to survive, which basically means we've got explorers to explore the area around us on the map, and we've had some basic food and water. So assigning more citizens to a task will get the work done faster. Now we need our next mission. What else do we need to do in order to set up some basics? We need building materials, and we need to attract more survivors. Right now we only have 10, so we need more so that we can continue to build. Now we need to find some wood and some space to build on so we can start putting down some roots. All right, so let's go ahead and pause the game for a moment. We have 3 people idle that are not currently either exploring or scavenging for food and water. So we're going to put them to work finding food. So let's go ahead and I'm going to put 2 right there, and I'm going to add another one for water. So those will allocate as soon as we get back to normal time. But before we do that, I want to take a quick look at the bottom left-hand corner. So we've got the question mark. So that's going to be our help. If we need some assistance in figuring out, okay, what are we trying to accomplish right now in order to move forward in our civilization, this is where we're going to find that. And we also have our objectives. So we pull these up, and right now we need to find wood. That's our newest pop-up window here. So we're going to be collecting wood. We're going to learn how to build a house through the research tree, build some houses, and then continue to expand as we move forward. Okay, so let's get back out of that, turn the game back on. Now we have nobody idle. Okay, so what we need to do is we need a place to call home. That means the research tab. So let's go ahead and click on the research tab. And this is our first look. Again, remember, this is just the demo of the game, so we don't have a full research tree, but I can assure you there is a lot in here to research and a lot of gameplay simply found within. So it's already highlighted that we want to do the house. So each house is going to allow us to attract and make room for new settlers. So we're going to spend 1 research. Right now we have 2 available found in the top right-hand corner. There we go. So we've just researched how to build a house. So now we can find it in the public building. So we'd like to go there right now. I'm going to go ahead and select no, because we're going to actually go out and do this through our main window. You notice that we have a new window available that is highlighted for us. It's flashing. We're going to click on that. This is our public buildings and jobs. So right now, this is where we're going to find our houses as well as several other things as time progresses. And then we have our public jobs. How many builders do we have? Right now, we don't have any. So we're going to need to take care of that. We need a few resources in order to build a house And of course, one of those is wood. So let's go ahead and build just one of those. There is our queue. So let's come back out to the world. Now you see at the top of the screen, we have 10 of 15. We now have one house, and instantly we're getting people moving in. We have 2 idle. I'm actually going to come back into the public jobs and put these 2 to work as builders. So obviously, the more citizens we have assigned as builders, the quicker things get built, and you can track our percentage there in real time. Okay, that is so far so good. We're waiting for some more people. A couple more people pop in. So now, where do we want to go from here? Well, we could go our own direction and start doing our own thing, but let's come back in and take a look at where the game wants us to go. We want to build 5 more houses, so we really want to get started expanding so we can get more citizens to assign to food and water. So let's do exactly that. So I'm going to go ahead and queue up 4. Also, you can see in the top right-hand corner, our queue now has these slots available. Here in just a moment, we will have completed the 5 more houses as soon as these are done. But most importantly, you notice that our max population is increasing. We are growing quite quickly. The rate of growth is controlled by a few things. Obviously, one of those things is the amount of food and water we have, but also there are some research that we can do in order to increase the speed at which we are growing. So if we take a moment and let's just pause things. Right now we have 6 folks idle. We need to distribute these. We can either make them builders through the social tab, or we can have them scavenging for food, water, and wood. But right now, I noticed that our food and our water are pretty low. Water is in the positive, but just barely. But food, however, is not. So let's go ahead and put some people to work here. And I believe that should be 5. Nope, that's 6. Let's go ahead and do 5 there. And let's continue because we want to continue building houses. So let's go ahead and put these other 3 to work there. And we're going to keep a track out. Now, at this particular point, there is no limit to our storage that I have found. So making these numbers as positive as you want is only a good thing and will give you a buffer as we get later in the game and resources become harder and harder to get. So right now, we're not going to worry about how positive they are. We can get them as much resources as we want. But right now, we're in good shape. Now we've got more people that are idle. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few of these. Let's go ahead and speed up our rate of exploration. That's going to open up more opportunities. And one of the ways that you're going to see this is going to be in the water tab. So we're going to start to unlock places where we can locate water and not only scavenge it, but also start to build some water pumps and so on going forward. But the more we explore, the more of those we're going to open up as the possibilities for us to use. So let's take a quick look back at our missions tab. So build 5 more houses. So apparently I didn't queue up quite enough. We have just assigned 5 citizens on food. Now we need to get enough citizens to put 5 on water as well. Now we have 9 sitting idle. So we'll do exactly that. Okay, now let's come back over and let's build. I'm going to go ahead and queue up several more houses to make sure that we not only hit the 5, but that we continue to grow. All right, there you go. Mission number 2 is done. We are progressing and thriving. So we also need to make sure that we have enough food and water at all times. Right now, we don't have a whole lot going on. We don't have a lot of buildings to manage, so it's fairly easy to keep track of those types of things. However, as we get bigger and bigger, we have more people, more buildings, our civilization will grow, and it's going to become harder and harder because our information is going to become more and more vast. So now we need to set up a renewable water source, and that's going to take us to the research tree. All right, so now stepping out in a different direction, different branch on the research tree, we've got the manual pump. Okay, this is going to provide a basic renewable water supply. So not only are we going to have our scavengers out finding water for us, we're going to have a renewable water supply. Okay, let's go ahead and research that. We actually have 6 available right now. Those will come very handy as time goes on. Let's go ahead and head over to, we're going to click yes this time. And this is going to give us our first opportunity to see natural water sources. This is what I was referring to earlier. Right now we have 3 of these. So that's all of the pumps that we're going to be allowed to build as of right now. But we'll find more as our explorers continue to expand our territory. So let's go ahead and just build 1 for right now. I noticed that we're in the negative on both of these. So I'm going to go ahead and we got 23 idle people up here. So let's go ahead and get some more. Now, the wonderful thing about technology is this pump only requires 1 person to give us +2 water. That is very good. Also, it does not require any electricity because we haven't unlocked that yet. So that is very good for us. Right now, I'm actually going to queue up the other 2. Now you see we have 0 natural sources left, but that's okay. We're going to put these to work and we'll continue expanding this as time goes on. There we go. We are full. You notice our productivity is now back to 100%. So that gives us at a quick glance the ability to determine exactly what our productivity is. And of course, we can also look at the very top of the screen. So we have 25 people idle. So where do we want to put these? I'm just going to go ahead and drop some of these down here and try to continue increasing the number of scavengers we have. I'm also going to come back to public jobs and we're going to get these up to 10. You can see it continues to speed up our build time. We still have 7. Now, as I notice, we're at +10 on the wood right now. Since we're only using the wood currently to build houses, we're okay there. +10 per second, +8.5 here on water. So we're doing very well for water, but food is lagging behind a little bit. We're still positive. So I'm going to run this up to 15. Now that gives us only a couple idle. So let's take a look at our mission set and see where they want us to go. Build a farm and then grow a forest. So some more renewable resources for us. For that, we'll come back to the research tab and we're going to expand a little further to the farm. All right, there we go. Provides a basic renewable source of plant-based food. We'll take that. Again, we have a lot of research available to us right now. Research is determined by the number of citizens as well as some additional buildings such as laboratories and schools as we continue to grow. But right now, you can see our knowledge growing in real time at the top of the screen. Not growing all that fast right now, but that is going to continue to accelerate as we move forward. So now we're going to get our first farm, which just as we did with the manual pump, helping out our scavenging for water, now we're going to have a farm that's going to help out with our food production. So right now we only need 1 worker for a farm, and that is going to give us a +5 on food. It's going to take a little bit of water as well as wood. So that's going to bring us down to a +9 per second on wood at 7.5 on water. So now we're in very good shape on each of these. We have run out of capacity. We only have 1 idle. Let's go ahead and put them on production of wood. We need some more houses because we have maxed out. So let's come in there and I'm just going to queue up. Let's go ahead and queue up 10 more. Why not? Let's go ahead and get those queued up and let's take a quick look at where we want to go next. So we built our first farm. Now we want to get a forest so we can have a renewable source of wood. Once again, we'll come back to the research tab and we'll go planted forest. So let's go ahead and research that. And yes, take me back to the main screen. And here we see the planted forest. Right now is at 0%. So we need to go ahead and build at least 1 of these. And that'll give us +10 on wood. And it's also going to take a little bit of resources. That's the balancing act as we continue to grow. Everything that allows us to progress is also going to take additional resources. There we go. Mission 4 has been accomplished. So we're well on our way to turning our settlement into a small village. So we can speed up game time by using the time lapse. We took a look at that earlier. And we also talked about there is a way through the research tree to even expand that further. Now, we have the basics in line. We have basic renewable sources for each of our resources. Now we need to get into mining. That's going to give us some materials for expanding our building opportunities. So in order to do that, once again, we come back to the research tree. We're going to go mining plant. And yes, come back to the main screen. Here we go. So the mining is going to be a huge deal because it's going to take a lot of people as we continue to grow this and expand it with further upgrades. So right now it is mining 100% stone. So now we have some new options across the top. We not only have food, water, then we have our building location. So this is in our current area. We have 319 building slots. Everything that we do takes up a building slot. And in some cases, multiple building slots. But right now, that's not really an issue as we're still very early in the game. We also have our wood. Then here is our stone, which right now, our mining plant is going to be exclusively stone. But as we continue to upgrade, it will be iron. And then we'll eventually be able to find uranium. So we've built one mining plant. We have a maximum of 10 workers. Let's go ahead and assign them. We got a lot of people that we need to get busy because they are sitting idle. So let's go ahead and do just that. I'm going to go ahead, since we can't really do anything else with the mine for right now, I'm going to minimize that. So where do we want to go? We're at +6 that's -3. Okay, we need to do something with that. You notice that we have in our exploration unlocked a lot more natural sources. So let's take a look at our research and see what else we can do. Now it wants us to unlock the school, which we'll come back to in just a moment, but we want to get into the automated pump. I want to go ahead and get this set up. All right, let's go ahead and get that. So we've got our manual pump. Now we have an automated pump, which is going to require electricity. So we need a way to get that electricity, but I wanted to go ahead and get that there because that is going to be a big leap forward. Instead of a +2 per second, it goes +5. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and queue up 7 of the manual pumps. We've got plenty of natural water sources, so it's not a huge deal. So as each one of these finishes, we have the ability to continue adding more workers, and that's going to get us back in the positive. We're still looking good on our other basic resources. And all right, so we've got one more that is taken care of. Let's go ahead and get that one. There we go. Now we're at a +10. We're in very good shape. A quick check on our mission. All right, build a school and assign some teachers. Now, thank goodness we have plenty of idle people. There is no question about that. So let's go back and research what it wants us to in the school. This is going to add teachers, which will increase the rate at which we gain knowledge, which is something we definitely want to do. This is going to be added to our public buildings. So not only do we have houses right now, we also have schools. So we're just going to build one for the moment. There you can see the resources that it's going to take. Not too bad early on. We have plenty of resources as we are allowing a lot of time for our resource generation to take effect. All right, that has now been built. We need to assign some workers. So max is 10. We definitely want to assign the max here. In fact, we're going to go ahead and build a couple more of these simply because we have a lot of people idle right now, and our resource generation is doing quite well. +6, +10, +10. Yes, I like that. All right, so let's take a brief look at our our R&D tree. So not only do we have the school, we have another way of increasing the knowledge. That's a resource center. We're not quite ready for the research center yet, but we will get there soon enough. A little bit later on in the game, you get to the war factory. That's when we can really start to expand our territory through force, but we're not ready for that. Factories will enable us to get even more advanced and start to create some products that we can sell abroad and get into the market side of the game. Again, a little farther along. And then you see, as well as the pump, we're going to have some ways of generating some electricity. One of those ways being a hydro plant. All right, but right now we want a thermal plant. The reason we want a thermal plant is because it will be the most basic way of creating electricity, and that's by using the wood that we have. Okay, let's go ahead and research that. We're going to come back. So once we get our, let's go ahead and get this down. So we've got a mining plant and we've got our thermal plant here. So we want to go ahead and build one of these. That's going to create 100 energy, which is going to be more than enough for what we need here in the early game. Our mining plant has now been moved over to its normal resting place, which is in the center of the screen. All right, so it's going to take a little bit for that. We have 23 people idle, and let's go ahead and queue up some more houses. I'm going to go ahead and queue up 10 more. Okay, each of these is going to give us 5 additional ones, so we can grow quite rapidly through that. And you can already see some opportunities to begin using these QOL settings to save us a little bit of time. All right, there we go. Thermal plant is now up and running. We need to assign some workers. We're going to assign the max, get it up to 100%. That's going to take quite a bit of wood. You notice that plus 20, that is definitely going to mean we need to put some more effort into collecting wood. For that, I'm going to use this planted forest. You can see that gets us almost back to 0. I'm going to queue up 3 more of those, so we'll have a total of 5. That should not only get us back into the positive, but should have us well into the positive. All right, so let's take a quick look at what we have. We got 31 people that are idle. Okay, that's certainly not bad. Our mine, we're going to need to unlock that upgrade here pretty quick so that we can start mining stuff other than stone, such as the iron that we're going to need in order to progress. So right now we have 47 people that are idle. Let's go ahead and put a few more in here. 10 more seconds, we'll be able to put our final ones there. Thermal plant, we're perfectly fine for a little while here. And you notice at the top, our absolute is 100 per second. So our consumption, you notice, is at 0. That's because we haven't turned on our pumps yet. We got to build a few of these. We have plenty of natural sources, so I'm going to go ahead and just build 5 of these. That will start to use some of this electricity. Okay, there we go. Our forests are now in good shape. We're at plus 26. I like that. Our water has now gone down to 0, as well as our food. So we have grown quite a bit, but obviously every new person that we take on needs food and water. So let's go ahead and begin to expand these. For right now, we're going to stick with just the basic farm. And let's go ahead and queue up 4 more of those. We'll have a total of 5. Okay, very nice. Let's take a quick look, make sure we're at 100% on everything that we have been expanding. Okay, 100, 100. I see 75 there as we're continuing to build those. So as these get done, things are looking pretty good. So we are maxed out once again on population. 51 people are idle. Let's go out to the map and take a quick look here as things are progressing. So here you can see the tile that we're currently working on, and we are just under 10% done exploring this area, and there are tons of other areas. But in order to get to these areas, we're going to need to invade these areas in order to begin to expand, and we're not quite ready for that. We're going to need quite a bit bigger population in order to do that. But we have tons of room still in this beginning area in which to work. So let's come back over to the main tab. Let's increase our number of explorers. Let's go up to 20 on these. I'm going to go ahead and get to 20. We'll go to 15 here, and we'll go to 15 there. All right, let's go ahead and max out. Okay, so we're done. Our building queue is empty. Looks like we're at 100% on everything. Oh, except our farms. Okay, now we're there. We still have 22 people that are idle. So I'm going to go ahead and add these. I really don't need them under builders. Oh, that's right. I forgot about our schools. Yes, that is a great place to use these. So that will increase the speed at which we gain knowledge. That's definitely something we want to do. So there you can see some of the very basics to the game. We still have an extremely low population, which we will want to continue to expand on. In fact, just to show you how low this population is, based on some of the things we're going to want to do moving forward, in order to get to the war factory and unlock that, we're going to need 1,000 citizens. factories, 2,000 citizens. So we got quite a ways to go. And of course, along the way, we're going to have to manage our resources as we continue to grow, as well as making sure that everybody is doing well. So right now, we're doing great as far as health and productivity, both at 100%, and we want to keep those at 100% for as long as we possibly can. So as we end today's video, hopefully we have covered the basics and given you guys an idea of what you can expect out of this game. So a quick look at our resources. We're at plus 25, plus 26, and plus 26. We also have some basic electricity being generated for us, plenty, since we're only using it right now for the automated pumps. We have plenty of natural water sources available as we continue to expand. And then our mine is going quite well. So as we end today's video, let's take a quick look at our research tree and decide where we might want to go in the future. We've got the hospital that is sitting out here. That's going to help us as we move forward in keeping our citizens healthy. We've got some additional farm options. We got a cattle farm and a genetic farm, which will greatly increase our food production. Those are going to be awesome. In fact, let's go ahead and research the cattle farm right now, because as we do that, you notice instead of plus 5 food per turn, we have plus 35. So I'm going to go ahead and queue up 5 of those, because our next step, since we are at max population, is to queue up a lot more houses. In order to do that, why don't we just change our build amount in the quality of life settings, and we're going to go ahead with 30 additional ones. So we're at a part in the game where we're going to have some rapid expansion. This is the easiest time to lose track of your resource generation and actually start to turn negative if we're not careful. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and stay tuned for more Simpocalypse.